That meant everything to me. That meant everything to me. Then also the third thing that I would say is try to understand. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense. A lot of stuff doesn't make sense with what's going on because of the George Floyd situation. But the first thing that a lot of people are doing is they're judging. First thing that a lot of people are doing are judging. And I would just say for the first part, just try to understand the situation. Yeah, in the Black community, one of the sayings, especially because we're involved a lot in hip hop, one of the sayings was, fuck the police. So I'm sorry for my language. I'm just being real with you guys, but it's a lot of the time just our experience with the police. Our experience with the police has been really bad. So it's not like we can go to the police and be like, hey, this is the good cop. We have to face every situation like this is the bad cop that's going to take my life. This is the bad cop that's going to throw me in jail. This is the bad cop that's going to incriminate me so I can't get the really good job, So it's not necessarily, we do believe that there's good cops out there, but it's not like we can just approach every cop that's going to be, that we encounter with, that's a good cop, And also too, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say is just try to understand, try to create some awareness and just reach out to someone and be like, hey.
Hey, the third, thank you, brother. Appreciate it. The third one you left out, which is when you see something wrong, say something.
Oh yeah.
Right? Check,
100%.
and look, I think most
100%.
of us know what right
on that?
Go ahead, Ian.
No, I was gonna say, go ahead and expand on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I think
everything.
it's important, that we don't turn a blind eye towards something that's clearly wrong. So I just want to say that, and that takes courage at times. It's not always easy, but I think that's important. So I just, the environment here, the values. Thank you, Ian. Like I wrote a few things down. There. Anyone who spent any time around me knows how important these things are to me. Humility, which always means being learning based, always coming from curiosity. Like Ian said, seek to understand. Collaboration. None of us is as smart as all of us. That's how I've always lived my life. It's how I operate. That's how I lead. And it also embraces everyone else so they feel valued, because I think that's critical. We all want to feel valued. Inclusion, right? Diversity. I think diversity is like the beauty of the world, right? It's how we learn. It's how we grow. It's how we step out of our comfort zone. If we were all the same, it'd be no fun. We wouldn't learn anything, right? So I think just in diversity and inclusion, they go hand in hand. Transparency, just being honest, and oftentimes that's also really difficult. Delivering messages sometimes that people don't want to hear, but they're the truth, they're the honesty, and I think that's part of just being integrity. It's how you build trust, and a lot of that comes in how you deliver the message. So I think being sensitive to the delivery is also really important, because also people receive it differently when it's delivered in a constructive way. Authenticity, right? Which goes again, these all tie into one another. Just be true and authentic. Don't, be yourself. We all have our own unique superpowers, and like understand what they are and share them with the world. And then accountability, which goes hand in hand when you see something that's wrong, point it out, spell it out, tell people that, and take personal responsibility. All of us. It's what I look for in people all the time. Do they have excuses? Or are they taking ownership of what they say and what they do? So I think those core values are really, really critical to what makes this office unique. I talk about culture all the time. World-class standards creates world-class culture. And that's what I'm referring to when I talk about culture. An environment where it's safe to be vulnerable, where we're all interested in growing personally and professionally. I firmly believe your personal development is a direct reflection of your business. So I just wanted to spell those things out. I think it's important to just acknowledge the world we're living in. It's bigger than business right now. On the other hand, there's nothing wrong with conducting business, and we need to, right? That's our livelihood. So I think that's also important. And each person's version of that is their own, and not to cast judgment on any of that. Hold on, Violet, please. Thanks. I wanted to show a quick video, and then we're going to open it up to more stuff. But I just thought I want to show a quick video and a couple quotes, and then we'll jump into what we're going to do.
Josh, you're muted. Josh, you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah, I think many of you, I'm sure, have seen that. It's a Nike video, and I thought it was just very, very timely and very powerful. So
Great.
And then I just want to put up two other slides real quickly that I think, and I got some of these things from a mentor of mine that I talk to a lot about this kind of stuff. So, you know, you guys have maybe seen this. I posted it on but again, it speaks to, you know, our unity and is in our diversity, right? And guys, we can all together, and one of the things I want to take away from all of this is we're going to create some sort of a task force, some leadership committees to really determine what we can do as an office to really affect positive change. So, because at the end of the day, actions speak a lot louder than words. And then if you can put that other one up, Alfredo, just real quickly. I think this one really says, you know, we're not going to conquer the world right here, but we can lead by example within this group, and that will hopefully create, you know, an exponential effect everywhere else. Cool. And I'm going to be we're going to be doing a diversity panel next Wednesday at 3 o'clock, and I've got a number of people that I'll be inviting, many of them on this call now, and we're going to really dig deep into some of these things deeper. Today, quite frankly, you know, we have our standing 2 o'clock town hall, which is usually very focused on business, and you know, I invited BT and Greg to be on that. I know, and I'm going to let them both speak for themselves in a moment. We're going to let business evolve as it will, whether that's for a half hour or whether that's for zero, and I'm just going to let this sort of happen organically, because I think far more important right now than business is what's going on in this world, but they can happen concurrently as well. So, and that's again a unique decision for everyone. So with that said, go ahead, Violet. Yes.
I really want to get this out, because I think what I was saying may have been misconstrued. I was trying to encourage people, because I've had a lot of my clients, my friends from actually all over the world, you know, call and say, are you guys all right? And all this stuff. How come there's no law and all this? But there is. And I was just trying to encourage you all that, you know, something is being done about all this. That's the reason, one of the main reasons why the last couple nights we've been living in much better conditions. We don't hear the gunshots. We don't hear, I'm in the middle of it, it's where I live. But all that being said, you know, I'm so sorry that all this crap happened, but a lot of good is coming out of it. A ton of good is coming out of it, the way I see it. You know, I see it in my family. I see it in my friends. People are very happy to be alive. They are now looking to see what they can purchase. Believe it or not, I'm writing offers. I wrote 9 offers the last couple of days, and leases and properties to sell and all that. And you know what? It is coming, guys. And we're going to be fine. All of us, we're going to be good. But you're right. We can't just stand, you know, on the sidelines and not do anything. Whatever it is, we have to do the right things anywhere and everywhere. But thank you, Josh, for the opportunity to clear that air, because I didn't want to, the way it was going, I didn't want you to think I was just one of these complainers. I am not.
No, I appreciate that, Violet. So, BT, do you want to say some things? There you go. So for those, I think most of you guys know BT. She's been on actually many panels in the office. One of our top producers, a leader, very bright, very articulate, just a really quality person. And we've had a couple of conversations just in the last 24 hours. And BT, I'll let you take the floor if you're cool.
Okay. Yeah, Josh. Hi, everybody. Josh reached out just because he wanted to make sure that, I guess as a collective and a family, if you will, that we don't miss the opportunity to talk about what's going on. For me personally, this isn't something new that's going on. This finally, I guess, 8 minutes and 46 seconds, that was like the magic number for people to be like, wait a minute, something's not right, which this has been happening for eons, obviously, right? So for me, my first thing I want to say is just being one of, and I don't know if anybody else is speaking who is Black, but I want to make sure I say I am not a facilitator of conversations in regards to race and diversity, right? I'm a colleague of yours, I'm a business owner, I'm a Black woman, and I'm in distress. And it's important, I think, that you guys understand it from a different experience. And so Josh had a feeling this needed to be done, and he's right. So I'm speaking from my own experience. Also, I have to say that there are a number of versions of being Black, right? So I am an Ethiopian American, I was born here, but I happen to know where in Africa my family's from. The problem is for the African Americans who don't. And some people might think that's an antiquated story and like we should be over it, but it's impossible. It's impossible. This is about DNA. This is about historic pride. They don't have the opportunity to have. And maybe because a lot of people that don't look like us have had that, you've taken it for granted. Because if you kind of looked up and all you know is the last 3 generations of you, and there's something missing, you would understand, right? So I just think there are a number of little things to take into consideration. My experience is my personal experience. So whatever I share is just for me. And I think this is overwhelming. To be honest, I'm really emotional. To the point, some people mention stuff about the looting and all that. Like, look around the world when injustice is being done and people aren't willing to take in consideration justice, and you've done everything the just way and it's being dismissed, you have no other option, right? At some point. And when business owners like the CEO of Target and people are saying, look, I can rebuild, I can get merchandise, because they're like, holy fuck, enough is enough. I'm tired of this trajectory. Consider the fact that people like that are willing to look at this beyond looting. I do not condone looting. I completely understand it. And if I was probably half my age, I'm not suggesting I would be doing it, but I'd probably be on the street and understanding why they're doing it, And so I think it's really important, if I'm ever going to have this conversation with somebody that doesn't look like me, you need to make a decision whether or not you're willing to step out of your shoes and come into my shoes, or Shirley's shoes, or Pele's shoes, or Ian's shoes, or Asab's shoes, you understand? Or Isaiah's shoes. If you're willing to do that, I'm happy to converse with you. If you're determined to stay with your own perspective, if you're just not willing to look outside of your own sort of mini peripheral, it's a moot point. I'm not interested in communicating with anybody like that. So I get the feeling most of the people in our office are curious, and they are willing to step outside of their shoes and say, okay, what does this really feel like? And I do think, one of the blessings, and it's so beautiful to see like the young generation, because they didn't grow up with the same amount of, racism is removed from them a little bit. It gets more and more diluted in terms of your ancestral chain. And so I think a lot of the kids that are out there, I'm calling them kids because I feel old, but like that don't look like me, they're enraged because they grew up with a Black president. They grow up with people in their classrooms looking like every single ethnicity. So to them, this is mind blowing. I'm concerned about the people who are 40 and up, who are a little comfortable in their purview about things, right? I think that what's going on right now is about to change the world because of these young children who are aligning with people that don't look like them, because they're not doing us a favor. They literally think this is insane. There are young white 20, they're literally like why would I be superior because of the color of my skin? That's because they're coming from a younger generation of parents that have like sort of rebuked racism. Hopefully it's still somewhere in there, but hopefully, in my opinion, you know, so I'm kind of what I'm trying to say is that the looting thing is bigger than looting. You know, don't do yourself a disservice and call it looting. It's protesting and some really fucking pissed off people. And if like I said, if the owner of organizations are like, yo, I get it. I mean, shit, I don't know. I got insurance. We'll figure it out. Then you probably should be willing to think about it from that perspective too. And I'm actually talking to every day there's a conversation around this. So I'm not talking to one particular person. I'm just saying that's kind of my thing with that. And if I'm being really honest, if like we're really going to sit down and have a real talk, I actually wouldn't be talking about George Floyd. I'd actually be talking about the woman in Central Park, because she, to me, could be an incredible case study. Like the subconscious entitlement and privilege, the fact that she had no problem saying out loud, I will call the police. They would weaponize the police against this Black man. She was so comfortable, and I hate to say this, but she represents a significant percentage of a culture, of a race. She literally does, whether they know it or not. Karen represents a lot of people, you know, so that's scarier because she's still out there. She's still out there. And so I'm interested in people having a conversation like, hey, look, I'm willing to be uncomfortable. I'm willing to be uncomfortable. I understand that I may have some or I may impose microaggressions without even knowing it. And if people aren't familiar with what that is, that's an important word. If you're gonna walk away with anything, walk away looking up microaggressions, because it's not just something that Black people are accustomed to dealing with. It's literally when people unintentionally and intentionally disrespect and make discriminating remarks, right? Insults towards people of another ethnicity. And a lot of times, people that don't look like me, people that look like most of the people in my office, there's so many microaggressions that come towards us. You have no idea, but we tend to know that there are good people there. We know it's not on purpose. So I feel like there's so many people, white people, who said to me, what do I do? I'll get money, whatever, but I don't feel like that's enough. And I'm like, you're right. So here's one thing to learn. Look up what a microaggression is, because when you see a Black person, you're like, you know, pounding them or using colloquialisms, assuming they would relate, that feels disrespectful. That creates a resentment. It's stuff like that. Like, this conversation is so much bigger. And I'm tying it back to the woman in Central Park, because I just mean, it's the underbelly that we need to be talking about. It shouldn't take a Black person to die for anybody who doesn't look like a Black person to be like, something's not right. You should be more curious about us thriving than living. Like, living is like bare minimum. Like, we shouldn't be like, is he alive? Okay, cool. It's like, no, how about thriving? How about equity? And I know that a lot of people who live in their own shelter, in their own little bubble, we all have our own little bubble. Most people, it's not intentional. Like, you don't mean to disconnect from the world, but we're in a capitalist society. It's like scary. Everyone's always trying to focus on myself, my family, my immediate core. That's the problem. Like, we really have to step outside of ourselves, and you have to want to know. You have to want to know. And so for those of you who are like, I've got Black friends, Black Lives Matter, any of that rhetoric, don't do that. You're doing yourself a disservice. You have to say, I don't know enough. And instead of being frustrated when you hear people talking about, you know, equal rights for African Americans and this and that, and as far back as the Proposition 209, no, ask why. Stop being so fixated on your perspective. It's not possible that your perspective is the right perspective, right? There's billions of perspectives. Educate yourself. So I'm here. I mean, I told Josh, I'm like, I'm just sharing what comes up for me. So many more things come up for me. The George Floyd thing, like, we live with PTSD. African-American people, literally every day, I pray to God, my brother comes home from basketball. My father comes home from work. My partner comes home from the grocery store. Most people, you guys cannot process that. Like, there's so much trauma. There's so much. I'm a complete advocate of therapy. And I feel like, I mean, I've said it jokingly, but I mean it. I feel like the Black community should have excellent therapy for free, because there's too many layers of trauma. And most people who have not experienced any serious burdens, any serious deaths, or whatever you want to call it, you cannot relate to anything I'm saying. So I'm not upset with you. You have to know what it feels like to lose, to watch people die, to expect your child, there's a chance your child will not come home tomorrow. I'm not even exaggerating, you know? So this is such a big conversation. And I was thinking, what am I going to share with you guys? And ultimately, you know, for me, it's just, this conversation needs to be a monthly conversation, because I could go on, and I just realized how long I've been talking. So sorry, but that's how I feel for now.
Thank you very much. A lot of amazing wisdom in that, and a lot to process. And it's individual. And I think it just, you know, I've had a lot of very illuminating conversations just in the last week with yourself and some others on this call, and some others out, you know, and it really, and I say, it's like, I can't walk in your shoes, but I can only like try to understand better, and then try to do some things and take some actions that affect some real significant change. And again, that's one of the things that we're going to take away. We are going to have, and Ian can talk about this, because I was on a call earlier today with my La Mirada office, and we're going to include in our ALC, like that's going to be part of the agenda. And we're going to create some ongoing actionable items, because at the end of the day, it's like, you guys, anyone who knows me, consistency is what it's all about. Without consistency, nothing ever changes. So we've got to be consistent. And I want, as the leader of this office, to make sure that this is a big part of what we do moving forward. And whatever it took to get us here, it probably shouldn't have taken this to BD's point, and I 100% agree. But I also want to be real, it did. And now we can at least take this as a great opportunity to, you know, again, make some positive change. So thank you for that. Really pretty amazing. And I know it took a lot of courage, and I appreciate it a lot.
May I say something to BT? I grew up in Ethiopia. I was there 19 years, so I guess I'm more Ethiopian than you are from that aspect. But you know, what I admire about the Ethiopian people is that when I lived there, I honestly, there was no black and white thing. You know, we didn't have this whole thing. So it's very foreign to me to come to the United States and have to deal with this. So I am so sorry that you're going through that, for all of you, for all of us who are going through this. But it is going to change, and it's going to change for the better. Thank you for your contribution to this, BT. Thank you.
Thank you. So
I something.
There's, I'm sorry, who's George? Is that?
Give me Abu.
Oh, go Abu, fire away, man. Of course.
Hey, how you doing, man? My name is Abu. I come here in this country. I was almost like on my 25 years old, but I never be exposed on diversity. And what they're saying, like about the way Black people live here. Like the fear they have, like when the police stop you, all that, it is real. Me myself, I've been exposed in different towns where the police just pull me over, and I know for a fact it was just because I look different. So it is real. That's why if I hear people talking about the looting, all that, I think violence has no place in this country. But people should think first of all what caused the loading and the stealing, the fact that you see all these people, the young generation that just wake up and say enough is enough, and they make their voice heard, saying like we cannot accept that. And in order for you to really understand that, you have to be like a Black man living in America. Before I never thought about racism or that, because I come different country. I come here, it was a new society for me, trying to to adjust myself, to adapt all that. But the longer you live here in America, and you're gonna face some racism somehow. But I think like the good thing is about like people now understand that, and they're trying to take some action to end it. And this is help us to move forward, and to have a better life in this great country.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you sharing that. I know the kind of person, anyone who knows Abu, the positivity, just the smile all the time, the willingness to make it happen. Keep shining your light, man.
I like the new beard too. I didn't recognize that. Abu, if I could piggyback off of what you just said, though, I went to high school called Hamilton High School on Robertson, and I was a minority there, being white, surprisingly enough, if you can imagine. So a lot of my friends I grew up with, constantly experienced racism almost daily from police officers. And I remember one day, my friend, he had a candy painted Buick Skylark and gorgeous, gorgeous car. And he was following me into my condo. And as he's following me, I'm driving my car, he's driving his. We were basically just going to park his car, get in my car, and leave. In the process of doing that, some lady, who I'm not going to name her name, saw these kids who are my friends going to my house, following me in. They got in my car, and sure enough, as we're going out, I kid you not, a police helicopter came. We were followed around the block by 2 police cars eventually when they caught up. And I was just shocked. I mean, it's something that I've never had to experience on a day-to-day basis, but just to like be around that and see that happening was very eye-opening. So I think back to Beatty's point, when you see a lot of people very angry and upset and looting is happening and whatnot, I'm not for looting at all, but I can understand how pissed off you would be, because I was furious when that happened. And that's only happened to me once. And I mean, it didn't even happen to me, in fact. I was just there. And, you know, so I think that a lot of times we have to kind of take a step back when we want to make the point about the looting, you know, stopping and whatever. That's not the point we should be taking from this, I don't feel. I think that we really need to be focusing on what this is really about, which is Black lives. And, you know, there's going to be bad actors in anything. And I don't want that to be taken away from what the issue it really is. So I just wanted to say that. So anyway.
Appreciate that. Anyone else want to say it? You don't have to at all. And again, we're going to do something much more in depth next week. I didn't want to dismiss.
I would like
yes,
to say
Maxwell.
something. I would like to say that everybody, of course, knows that discrimination and racism goes on. But even today, with my children, it goes on every day. I want to ask the people that are sitting there that are not of color, how many of you tell your son I have a 21-year-old son. I have not taught him how to drive yet. It's not because I do not want my son driving in Los Angeles. It's because I want my son alive. Right. I want my son to get to 27 to be alive. You do not understand that my son got on a bike when he was 13 years old. And from my house, I saw the cop drive one direction. I saw my son drive the other direction. The cop made a U-turn, stopped my son, and frisked him, took his backpack, got him off the bike, got him in the back of the car, checked his name, and then let him go at 13 years old. 13 years old. I want to ask how many white parents worry about their children going outside on a bike ride?
None of us, Max.
I want to ask how many white parents tell their sons, don't run on the street, don't wear a hoodie, don't, and this is not a joke. When my son goes out of this house, my daughter and I look him up and down and make sure that he does not have red, black, red, blue, yellow, whatever color it is, of one color. We tell him to wear a white shirt or tan shirt and a tan pants. We tell him do not put on all black. My son is a biology chemistry major at a university, has always had a 4.0 at GPA, has always been the smartest kid in his class. I cannot trust my son to be alive in this country. I do not trust my son with anybody of any cop of any color, with a black, white, man, female, no. I prefer that my son not be living in this country today. Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you that. I walk around that office and every single time, what 21-year-old do you know that has never had a chance to just be a boy? All black boys. Every black boy that you see. And every black boy that you see comes from a very strict background. The parents tell them, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. They follow rules and they go outside and everybody breaks their rules. Doesn't matter you have a black president. That if once Obama became president, our children became the targets of everything. of everybody, because the racists saw that now one of them broke the glass, and we're not going to let the next generation break the glass. Let's be honest about that, okay? Let's be honest that Trump would not be in office if Obama was not in office. It does not mean Trump would not be in office because he's Republican or he's Democrat. No, it's because of the fear of a black man. It's the fear of a black man. This country is built by black men. This country has made sure that black men went to war. This country made sure that black men are your police officers. This made sure that your black men are in jail. What country do you have majority of their one color in jail? Let's be honest. Black men have been lynched in so many ways, in so many different things. And I'm a foreigner. I get the privilege of going out of this country and picking up a ticket any day. This week, my son called me and he said, "Mom, is it ever going to get better?" And I said, "You know what? Maybe it will get better, but you always have a free ticket to get out of here if you don't want to." I always give him that option to get out of this country if he can. Do you understand? You have children, boys. Every day I drive by Beverly Hills, I see cops pulling down a young black man in handcuffs, asking him questions, and everybody driving their nice cars, looking at themselves like it's great. Do you know why we're having this conversation? It's because people that are non-blacks have finally felt some pain in their pockets, And they're going to drive around their streets, and they're going to see the pain that is going to cost them to build their country. They're not coming because they care about the black blood. They're coming because they want to make sure that their pockets are not touched. But guess what? The time for talking is finished. I believe that it's time for action. If everybody wants to do something, I want you to watch that 8 minute 46 seconds and tell me what it is that you're going to do, how it is you're going to change. And next time you see a young black person inside a store and somebody's looking at them sideways, please tell the person, don't look at them. Give them room to breathe. Give them room to grow.
Yes.
And I would like to say, please, for the love of God, do not say looting is happening. Looting is happening. You know, one of the comedians said, black people's lives have been looted for years. For 400 years, it's been looted. So please stop using the word looted, because it just says that things have been taken. And also for us, I say, stop saying that insurance is going to cover it, because those of us that are in business know insurance does not cover anything. The only thing that's going to recover everything is us getting together, us working it out and figuring out how we're going to hire young black men to be working. And I'm going to say one last thing to all the foreigners that are sitting in our office that are foreigners. The reason that you are in this country, the reason you are ability to have your own business is because of the color of your skin. Because when you come to this country and you immigrate from a different country of Middle Eastern or other countries of European countries, your first generation parents might actually have some discrimination against them. But once your child becomes an American and speaks English with an American accent, they become Americans. They carry the card of a white American. You can get a business. You can walk into a place. You can enjoy your life and do whatever. But when you're a black kid of any country, immigrant from any country, your parents could have any amount of money. They could have any education. But when they go out the door, they're black men and their lives are on the line. That's all I'm going to say. I'm sorry. I'm so passionate about this that it's too much for me sometimes.
Thanks, Maxwell. We appreciate it. And again, guys, like, I think it's just all about just listening and trying to understand, right? And we can agree to disagree on a lot of things, and that's fine. That's also the beauty of diversity, but it's just having mutual respect for one another, assuming it's well-intentioned, as I always come back to. So anyone else want to say something that feels compelled to say something right now?
Hey, Josh, I don't want to say anything. As you already know, I had a 13-minute rant on my on my own, office meeting. So this is just not a situation that's happened with B or Sarah. Like this is how a lot of people feel. Like I just mentioned. And sorry, I actually recorded that rant. Sorry that I posted it without giving your acknowledgement, Josh.
Nah, all
But
good, man.
good. That's how we feel. That's just how we feel. But yeah, like I said, I don't want to say anything. I just want to say this is not a one-off situation. A lot of people are saying a lot of stuff. We're hurt. We're sad. This is our form of expression. And thank you, Josh, for letting us express ourselves the way that we can. Thank you.
Hey, Josh, can
Yeah.
I piggyback off of Ian? I just want to say my biggest fear is that becomes a fad. I can feel things softening and getting quiet now that all the other police officers have been arrested. Now that the mayor immediately sort of defunded aspects of the budget for the police. I don't want people to be like, okay, everything's okay. This is like when somebody dies and everyone's like, how can I be there for you? And then after the funeral, that person doesn't hear from anybody. So I would personally like to ask that people really, if anyone's on this call and truly invested in this conversation, that you really commit to educating yourself, seriously, because I'm glad we all got this opportunity, but I keep thinking, what are we going to do? What are you going to do? And I know people need insight and intel to figure this out, but
Well, I'm going to call on you if I can interrupt you. As I said, I want to get a committee in this office, and I'd love for you to be part of it. So,
look, I have an opinion. I'm a Black woman, happy to share it, but I just want people to, when they get off this call, not to get off this call. You know what I mean? That's all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, I asked, and I don't want to put him on the spot, but I asked Greg, who's definitely certainly a major leader in our office, and I'm not putting him to follow all of that, Greg. But I know about you, and I know the kind of heart and character you have, and the kind of leadership you have. Any thoughts? And you don't have to have any, but I did ask you. I know your time's very valuable, and something I certainly value. Any thoughts or any comments?
It's obviously very difficult to, come face to face with all of these things that sometimes, unfortunately, we don't see every day. And like Betty just said, the one thing that we can't do is let this wash over us and then tomorrow turn a page and go back to the way, things were yesterday or before this tragedy happened. And it's really hard, and it's something that I think we all need to try and better understand how we can understand more, how we can become more involved, how we can educate ourselves, because it is true that while a lot of people can sit there, look in the mirror and say, I'm not racist, I have Black friends, like all of those things that were said, it is more than just that. And I think the one thing that people really need to do in this social media era is you got to be really careful about things that are said flippantly, because, people are listening and people watch what you say, watch what you do, watch what you write. And I see, and I talked to Howie about this, and I talked to Josh about this the other day, and a couple people on my team. Just recently in the last week, I've seen things on Facebook, even going back to before George Floyd, that were happening with the COVID thing going on. And some people from our office, and again, it's just my opinion, were saying things that came across as so hurtful to what other people may be feeling. I understand that everyone has their own perception, everyone has their own beliefs and their own way of thinking. And I think it's important for us to be able to share constructively with other people how we feel, because that's the way life evolves and that's the way cultures happen. And I know Josh is really adamant about establishing a culture in our office. And I think a lot is about leadership. You can look at, obviously Josh is one leader in our office. David Bailey is another leader in our office. Paul Morris is another leader in our office. Gary Keller is another leader. But there's also got to be leadership between all of the agents, because we're the people that have to build on that. Unfortunately, and again, I promise you, I do not want to get political on this, call right now, but leadership has a way of coming from the top down. And when there's lack of leadership, things can devolve very, very quickly. And I think it's really important that you, each and every one of you, have to take leadership in your own life to figure out how you're going to be able to live a better life. And I think it was Betsy that just said earlier, you can't just exist. Existing is not acceptable. Living and finding a way to enrich other people's lives around you are the way that your life is going to be better. And sitting back and accepting something that is not right makes you implicit. And we saw this with what happened with all the officers that were involved in that situation. You can't say, I wasn't the one with the knee on the neck, because, if you listen to the speech that the Reverend gave at the memorial service, the knee on the neck, while it was physical for George, it's something that is in a lot of people's lives, and it doesn't have to be a physical knee. And it's something that everyone has to understand and know that everybody else's life is not my life. And I have to understand that other people are experiencing things that I may not experience. And the only way for me to understand and be able to enrich my own life and the lives of people around you is to invest yourself in the people that are important to you, your friends, your family, your coworkers. And it's a very difficult time we're going through. And I really hope that we don't let this pass. Like when people say, oh, the violence has stopped, and oh, we're going back to work and the curfew's over. That's BS, because it can't just be like that the next day. Change is coming, change is happening. It's just happening too slow. It's happening way too slow. And for a lot of people that have to deal with prejudice and racism, there's not change. And that's not fair, and that's not right. And I know I'm obviously maybe not saying the right things, and my words may come across differently to different people, but one thing that I've always said, every panel I've ever been on in our office, when Josh or Rod before Josh has asked me to explain what I think is important in being a good agent, the first thing I always say is be a good person and be nice to people, because it's so amazing to find how many people in our industry don't respect your time, don't respect you as a person, feel that they can treat you differently because they've been in the business 20 years and you're a new agent. And the one thing I always say is start by being nice to everybody. And being nice to everybody means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But if you at least try and start there, I think it could be a good launching pad for people to at least know that you're open, you're approachable, people can come and talk to you. And I'm hoping that, in our office, I know on my team, we talked a lot about it over the last week. We still meet and have been talking about what's been going on. And sometimes it's hard to know the right questions to ask. And it's hard to express to people that you care, and it's hard to, reach out to people and say, how can I get more involved? And like Betsy said, you have to put yourself out there, and you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you have to make yourself feel like I need to be out there. And to some people it's protesting, to other people it's being an activist in your community, and to other people it's getting involved politically. But you can't just exist. You have to be an active participant in life, because it's short and life comes and goes, and the only thing that you have are the people around you and the lives that you can impact and how they're going to impact your life. So I don't know if any of that made sense, but that's what I had to say.
Greg, it was phenomenal, man. You never disappoint, man. That perspective, just be kind, be nice, just put yourself in the other person's shoes to the best that you can, right? And I think when you always come from the other person's perspective, it's really pretty powerful.
But at the end of the day, there's a time not to be nice. And when there's injustice and there's somebody doing something that should not be done, and I can't remember, I apologize, who said it, but if you see, and I think it was Maxwell, if you're in a store and you see someone who's treating someone the wrong way, you got to say something, and when I watch, God, I'm getting upset because I watched that video 8 minutes, and those poor people were standing on the sidewalk begging and pleading, and I wished one of them would have just broken through and tackled Chauvin and got him off, not worrying, because I know what they're saying. I don't want to get shot. I don't want the police then to arrest me. But you know what? If he would have crossed over and pushed that guy out of the way and tackled him, maybe the guy would be alive. And some of us just have to grow some balls and get some, whatever you want to call it, some fortitude, and say, I can't stand by anymore. I can't watch this just keep happening.
Yep.
Thank you. Can I ask you say just one thing very briefly?
Of course.
I was just thinking about, I appreciate what everybody has shared, and I'm putting myself in your shoes, people that don't look like me, and I'm thinking, this is probably valuable information, but if it's not innate in you to just fight for justice, and then if you don't have Black people in your life to relate to, you might not feel it in you, to go outside of your comfort zone to do something. So I just want to encourage people in those positions who can't really touch this yet, do it for your neighbors. Do it if you believe in karma, do it for fun, fuck it, whatever. But whatever it is, I'm very clear there are people here who appreciate this information, but it's not penetrating them because they can't relate and they don't love a Black person or really have a real dynamic relationship with a Black, so they can't, and maybe they haven't lost a child. I don't know what it is, but if you cannot relate to this pain, do it for somebody that find a way to make it penetrate you. Find a way, just do that, just for fun.
Yep. And I think, a central theme, we're going to wrap this up shortly. And again, I'm going to really encourage everyone to join us Wednesday, because, I think that's going to be powerful. And the one huge takeaway is, again, consistency. Like I said, we got to, as the leader of this office, we're going to do something on a consistent, ongoing basis to, figure out how we can make a positive impact, actionable, right? As Greg said, a couple things, and it's a central theme.
I just want to say,
this is uncomfortable. I came into this, let me just say, I came into this meeting very nervous, quite frankly. I don't get nervous about being open and transparent. Guys, I do that every day, all the time. But it's very sensitive and very sensitive, even for me. But I don't want, and I said it earlier, I don't want people to feel like they're walking on eggshells. I think obviously saying things, your words do matter with sensitivity, but everyone try to withhold judgment and understand people's intentions. That's always how I've lived my life. I really think about, okay, do I know this person, even if they were crude or whatever and what they said and they didn't, but I know their intentions were good, then I'm okay with that. And I can give them some constructive feedback. And I really encourage everyone, because I see there's this tendency, particularly on social media, for everyone to jump on everyone else if they don't say it right or do whatever. And it's like, and then at some point, especially as a white guy, you feel like you can't say anything. You're like walking on eggshells, and then all the communication turns off. And that's the worst thing that can happen, right? So I just want to make sure we all try to just understand, come from mutual respect, be willing to step out of our comfort zones and do things that take courage. When we see something that's wrong, call it out big time. And I don't always do that. I'm pretty good at that, but I don't always do that to the extent that I could. This is going to change me in that respect. Believe me, it is. Because I am passionate about this. I sat next to Rod. If anyone heard Rod's speak on Monday, when it was, I thought it was phenomenal. Rod may be on this call. Rod just joined us. I've known Rod for a year. His story is amazing, as are many stories in this group. But I'm very passionate about this. I'm about life. Life is not fair. It's one of the first things I teach my son. Let's just get real. It is not fair. But it doesn't mean we shouldn't strive to make it as fair as we can. Go ahead, Maxwell. Sorry. You're on mute.
I actually want to say something.
Sorry. I want to say I just don't do rants. I actually have constructive things that we can talk about that I have learned living in America to implement for my kids to be able to live in this country. So I don't just get angry at people and say those things. And I'm going to say something about Mr. Silver over there. You were the first person when I got into our office. We ran into each other at the mall, and you were so nice to me that I've never forgotten that. I've always known that people that say hello to you in your office may not necessarily say hello to you on the streets. And that's a weird way people, I intend to figure out who is really authentic about being from contribution to somebody who's just playing a role. And I want to say, I've always liked you to be one of the nicest men. So it's good to have you as one of the leaders in our office as well.
Thank you.
And I think just even saying hello, how are you actually caring is a great step in the right direction. We can all be a little bit better at that. Like, none of us are perfect. So if nothing else, creating awareness around just being nicer and more kind to one another. Someone was going to say one other thing.
Yeah, that was me. So I just want to speak because I'm 20 years old. I'm very young. I did not grow up with this. I'm white. I'm from the Bay Area. But I grew up in an extremely diverse community, to the point where we had annual multicultural celebrations. Some of my best friends from growing up are Black. I have Black, brown, every color. It wasn't a thing. But my only thing is that if you're a white parent, I ask you to not shelter your children from racism, because I didn't even know it was still a thing until I was like in high school. Like, if I would have known sooner, and I would have known to reach out to my friends, to ask them, to be aware, like, it could have been different, but just wasn't like that. I thought that since I grew up in a diverse community, racism wasn't real. And then when I got to high school, I started becoming an adult, watching the news. I was so shocked. So don't shelter your kids from it. Like, be real. Make sure that they know.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
And it might be ignorant, I don't know, but I want to know, it seems like there's a lot of fear with the police. That's what I'm hearing, and rightfully so. And how can we get more Black men to be police officers? They must be the change they want to see. Do Black men want to be police officers?
I'll answer that question.
Thank you.
Honestly, no, they don't. And I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of trust and what has been inflicted upon the African American community since Jim Crow, since the exit of, the termination of slavery. The experiences have been horrific. So I think that, for the officers that are, and I know officers that are Black, that are police officers, and a lot of them get ostracized by their family members and their friends because it's almost as if you're joining the enemy. I remember being kids and we would play, you could be cops, robbers. Nobody wanted to be a cop where I was from because of our experiences. So I think in order for Black males and even females, because I have some family members that are female officers and they catch a lot of hell too, in order for that to be a desired occupation for young Black males and females, there has to be a direct, immediate change within police departments across the country, meaning reform, meaning changes with the laws, meaning accountability being held at the highest level when it comes to how police are being held accountable. So can it happen? Absolutely. And I think it starts with us in the way we organize. And I think out of everyone on this call, I think the intent is pure. I think everyone is open and willing to have an understanding, or else none of us would be on this call. But I think it goes beyond just the people on this call. It really has to be a unified front of individuals that are willing to attack and address these issues. As I believe someone said, we can't get off this call or go into next week and things are getting better, and then everyone's kind of back to their day-to-day lives. And it's not on each one of us on this call to do it, but I think as a unified front, to answer your question in general, we have to be able to address these issues and how police are policing the Black community specifically, not just communities of color, because there is a big difference if you pay attention to it. It's specifically how they are policing Black communities and how they are handling Black men and women when it comes to any form of encounter. So with that said, those changes have to take place before I don't think it's on the responsibility for Black men to change a police department. I think it's the leadership that's there that needs to be held accountable to change a police department. This problem didn't arise with us. This problem started with the way racism was put in place to actually minimize or marginalize Black people within our communities that we live and reside.
Roderick, I appreciate you answering my question. I'm a high school teacher, and I often say, people complain about teachers, but why don't you step up and be a teacher? We need more people of color to be teachers, to represent the kids that are in the classroom. I honestly feel like this is not going to change until we have more Black men on the police force. Somehow we've got to make a change, because you need your people. We need people, all colors, representing. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I don't disagree with you as far as that goes. But I guess what I'm getting at is that in order for that to take place and for more kids to want to be police officers, they have to see a real change. I mean, a real change that's showing that, you know, if the police department are going to have more Black officers police those communities, then it's going to come down to the community relations and how they are engaging. And I've seen certain communities, it's primarily even down in San Diego, where they have a certain task force that they're sending Black officers in those communities that are from those neighborhoods to, you know, patrol those neighborhoods and develop relationships with the gangs and develop relationships with the local kids that are in those communities. But again, that's a small group. And I think in order for more kids to want to see, you know, or see themselves as police officers, they're going to have to see a real immediate and an immediate change and a long-term plan that shows that there's a desire to create the change and unity within those communities.
Yeah, well said, Rod. You know, Greg said it before, and I say it all the time. It's like everything rises and falls on leadership, quite frankly. And you can break that down into whatever group you want, and you can use your imagination across the board. And I think we are leaders, everyone on this call, if we choose to be, right? It's a choice. It's about personal responsibility. It's about action. And, you know, I'm just proud that we've had this conversation, and I want to make sure, and I will make sure, it's an ongoing thing. And as I said, we're going to create some committees and really create some, direct initiatives that we're going to try to affect as much change as we can. So I'll be reaching out to many of you to see, you know, how involved you'd like to be. Again, that's a choice, but that's a commitment I make to this office and to all of you guys. So I just want to thank everyone for being vulnerable. I think this was an amazing experience. And again, it's going to be an ongoing thing. And before I wrap this up, any other comments or thoughts? And I just want to thank everyone for contributing.
Go vote.
Vote. Agreed. Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Much appreciated.
Thank
A lot of
you.
love.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Josh.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, everybody.